Hello, this is Perfect Death, bringing another Ragnarok Online mobile video. This one will be covering the final fight with the Comodo dungeon, third floor here, where in this particular run, I'm going to cover the Pocarani Fight. So we're just about to finish fighting Joel. We did Nuka first, then Kimura, and then we just finished off Joel here. Now, Pocarani has, in the legend difficulty, a permanent safety wall, so physical DPS can't hurt her. We do have two rune masters here. One of them, for sure, is a hybrid build between things. And we can see I'm turning off my special effects. I have special effects on because for the Nuka fight, it won't show who he's targeting with Azura Strike. But then when we fight Pocarani, she is going to do some skills that you want to keep an eye on. And so I want to reduce the amount of numbers and effects flying around. So you can see Pocarani over here. She's got this safety wall. And this is one of the reasons why you want to taunt her. Right in there, when I started the fight, she did group dispel. And I cannot heal, and I cannot buff. And she will actually steal the heals that I take and give them to herself. Now, it has a very short cast time. You can see that bar go up. And because we taunt that, it will actually stop her from being able to steal people's heals. This is the other one you can stop. I think right now we're unable to get buffed, so we don't have Suffragium Ode, which prevents us from having as fast of a cast delay for our taunt skill. And usually you have that issue maybe at the very start when everybody's coming in and you haven't gotten your taunt rotations going. So we do have two people doing the taunts, which is preventing her from getting most of her skills out. And the next thing to keep in mind are these elemental elves. So I'll wait until I see it. Takes a bit of time. You get an idea for when it happens, but right here. So you can see she just jumped up, and then where is it? Yeah, right there it says summon elves. And then somewhere here, yeah, it's actually right in the middle here, there's an elemental elf. So sometimes you can see the elf. In this case, the elf is already here, hiding underneath us. So you watch for her to jump. Watch for the summon elf, and then you'll see the elf down there. And so this is at about 27 seconds in. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then boom, you see this big green AoE. So if you can get the timing right, your priest can counteract this effect. So if I go back just a little bit, Pocarani's at 94% of her health, and then right after that she's 99%. So this will heal her, this elf, when the AoE spawns, it will heal her 5% of her health. And this is counterable if your saint can land her tip of my tongue, what it's called, but the cure barrier, right? So cure barrier will convert that into damage, and so she will not be able to heal her 5%. In fact, she will sometimes just take 3% damage, something like that. Depends on the cure barrier rune. But the cure barrier only lasts, debuffs on these bosses only last for half a second. So taunt does work on this boss, but only for half a second. So we're using taunt mostly to cancel her skills, but her elf still gets through, and she spawned another elf, and then, boom, there's the heal, but she didn't quite get her cure barrier timed right. Takes a bit of practice for the saint to get it right. So usually you see her jump. I tend to count to 5, and then right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. She does her cure barrier, and so we can see the boss was at 92 there. And if we go back a little bit, just a smidge, so boss was at 88, and then went down to 87, and then yeah, so the boss got healed. So the cure barrier is really hard to stick, right? It could have been a desync thing, right? Because the cure barrier landed right about when the heal went off. So there might be some desync going on. I've seen it work in some runs before where we land the cure barrier, but it's quite hard to do. And this does save you overall time, because in this case, the only we have the magic dragon breath and we have the slayer. And so those are the only two main DPSs here. The other RM is their abyssal arrival is the only thing really doing damage here. So often what a lot of teams will do, and we can see she got a heal steal through, so now everybody's losing health. Now if she does get a heal steal through, you can use cure barrier to cancel the heals she gets from you. But in this case, a lot of people will just have the RM's taunt if they don't have any other way of damaging the boss, just to try to help it so that as you damage her, so long as she's not healing back the damage that you're doing. So we can see she got another dispel off. And if you do use healing items, that's going to heal while she's remove buffed you. It will heal her a lot. So you could try to do something with a cure barrier when she's group dispersaled and your team uses a heal item. But in general, you try to keep your cure barriers for the elf, which is right there. So you can see she got another 5% there. So if you get enough practice, you can counter some of them, and then it just helps the run go a lot faster. As long as the Slayer and any other kind of DPS is able to do it more than 5% health damage to her before she gets her elf off. And in this case, the team can do that, so we can get her down a couple of percent more than what she's healing back. And so there's the elf. 2, 3, 4, 5, and then boom, went back up 5%. So it is very hard to stick that cure barrier because it only lasts for half a second on the boss. You got to get it perfectly right. Yeah, there's another cure barrier, but that was too early. There was one guy's video that in another run that I did right after this, he managed to land, I think, 2 cure barriers in that run, but in that run we were doing 2 slayers and only 1 RM. So the 2 slayers were just burning Pocarani down so fast that we didn't really need to worry about sticking the cure barriers. But if you're running just 1 slayer, landing the cure barrier helps out a lot. Aside from that, does Pocarani do anything else annoying aside from her space silence thing, which she does fairly early on. Let's see if I can find where that happened again. Somewhere near the start here, when we were trying to get this down. Because we got dispelled. Yeah, so if we go back just a little bit here, because this one, so you can see here she targeted the other DA, and you can see this big clock, right? So that will follow that person around, and whoever's in this will get space silenced. Now this does also work for, and we can see it actually worked against me, but it also worked on the boss. So this also works on the other bosses as well. So I've actually used this against Nuka when he was doing his Azura hunt, and it stopped him from being able to chase after the person who was hunting him. And then eventually his Azura hunt wore off. The Joel Joel has his freeze traps, and I've seen those work on the bosses, but the bosses just break out instantly. And I think that's really the three things that she does. She does her heal, steal, and dispel, which is all in one ability called group dispel. And so if you see that sometimes there's an effect that you can see, it's almost like a little bubble around you. It's very hard to see the actual dispel effect itself, but what'll happen is you'll get dispelled, and any healing that you try to do doesn't go through. So really, about the only thing you can do there is just run away and try not to take damage. Hopefully you don't get hit by some of the other stuff, but the other skill outside of that is her space silence, which does work against the boss as well. So if you're going to get space silenced, run from your teammate, but you could also run to the boss. And then, of course, there's her elf, which here's the elf right here. It does look like it can get damaged somehow. So it might be kind of like the Dorm's UFO. I'm not sure how much stuff could actually kill it, but it does look like it can take damage from certain things. But you can see the elf there. And then right about, boom, went from 14% to 19%. So if you're able to, you can out DPS her heal. You could try to just pull her away from the elf as well if your team is able to, coordinate the moving. But then you're kind of reducing your DPS anyway, so I guess it depends. You can come up with a strategy that you might pull her away. That if you see the elf, and you can coordinate with your team to stop attacking her, taunt and pull her away so that she's out of range of the elf, and then start attacking again. That could also work too. And if you don't want to shuffle around, you can try to land that half-second cure barrier. But you can see in between her cure barriers, she's doing Lex Eterna, and this is because Lex does last. Well, you're gonna proc the Lex very quickly. Everybody just keeps hitting her, so some of the other debuffs like Ratio don't last very long. Again, they're half-second debuffs. Pain release, half-second duration. So Lex seems to give the most benefit. So that'll be it for this video. Take care.